The Dharmasthala mass burial controversy is one of the most unsettling stories to hit Karnataka in recent memory. What began as a sensational allegation of hundreds of hidden burials has now spiraled into arrest, retractions, and court battles. In just a few days, the case has turned from whispers of horror to a war of credibility between investigators, whistleblowers, and powerful institutions. This story began when a former sanitation worker claimed he was forced to bury hundreds of bodies, mainly women and children, near Dharmasthala between 1995 and 2014. His testimony was shocking: nighttime burials, orders from higher ups, and a silence enforced for decades. The Karnataka government quickly set up an SIT under DGP Pranarap Mukharte. Soon after, exhumations began at 13 sites identified by the complaint. At most of these, no remains were found, but at two sites, partial skeletal remains did surface, enough to set the media ablaze. Let's see the timeline so far. On late July, excavations led to the discovery of bone fragments at one forest site. Initial reports described them as possibly female remains, but later forensic checks suggested that they were male. Even this partial finding was enough to keep suspicion alive. And on early August, a Bengaluru court issued a sweeping gag order temporarily restricting reporting and online discussions on Dharmasthala. This triggered sharp debates. Was this protection of reputation or an attack on press freedom? And on mid August, political parties began circling the case. Some BJP and Congress leaders alleged the cases as a conspiracy to tarnish Dharmasthala's image. Devotees, forums organized meetings confirming that they are called smear campaigns. And on August 23rd, a major twist: the SIT arrested the whistleblower himself, charging him with perjury and producing false evidence. Officials alleged that bonds he produced did not match his claims, that these testimonies were inconsistent. But let's see what happened on the past 2 days and what has changed. On August 29th, the Dharmasthala administration struck back legally. A Bengaluru civil court ordered social media platforms and websites to remove over 8,800 allegedly defamatory posts. The court also restrained further such publications until the next hearing. Now, websites are scheduled to remove for September 27th. This move marked a decisive shift, turning the battle from the public square to the courtroom. Let's see what happened on August 30th too. The SIT conducted a sport mahazar with the arrested complainant, bringing him back to the very locations he had earlier pointed out. Meanwhile, new cases emerged against certain activists said to be linked with amplifying the allegations, raising questions about a wider network behind the narrative. Let's also see what all are the evidences on record. Physical remains. Skeletal fragments have been found, but no conclusive forensic results are public yet. Critical details are whether they belong to men or women, how old are they, and the cause of death. Everything remains unanswered. Next is obviously the whistleblower's credibility. Once seen as a brave truth teller, he now faces accusations of fabrication. His arrest has turned him from accuser into accused, casting a long shadow over the case. The next is retractions from families. In one striking instance, a woman who said her daughter has gone missing in 2003 later withdrew her statement. She alleged she has been pressured to speak out. This reversal has fueled claims of a deliberate misinformation campaign. We seriously don't know on which coin we should stand. And the next is legal battles. The August 29th order didn't repeat the boat gag of early August. Instead, it targeted specific content, especially online posts deemed defamatory, signaling that the courts are carefully narrowing the scope while still protecting the temple's reputation. Let's also see the tactics and strategies behind this. About the SIT investigators. Their strategy has been slow and methodological: excavations, forensic tests, and custodial interrogations. But the delay in forensic reports has created an information vacuum, fueling speculation. Accusers and amplifiers. Initially, the narrative was driven by testimonies, emotional appeals, and viral videos. Now, with the main complainant in custody, the credibility of this camp is collapsing. About the temple authorities, the Dharmadagari family has turned to the courts, focusing on defamation suits and takedown requests. By farming the issue as one of the false propaganda, they are shifting the burden of proof back into the accusers. And what so about the political and religious groups? Let's see. The BJP and VHP have held rallies in defense of Dharmasthala, while Congress leaders too have spoken of a conspiracy. For once, rival parties are echoing each other, united in skepticism towards the allegations. But among all these things, there are a lot of things which is unanswered. Forensic clarity, where the recovered bones, human or animal, male or female, recent or decades old, until labs confirm, speculations will always continue. And the scale of allegations is too similar. The complaint spoke of hundreds of bodies, but so far, even the remains found are few and inconsolable. The gap between claim and evidence is enormous. How about the networks and motivations? Were individuals or groups deliberately planting false narratives to damage Dharmasthala's reputation? Or was this a case of one man's fabricated stories spiraling out of control? Or is there anything that lies beyond what we can't see? The 2-day gap patch-up. If you have been away from the news for 2 days, here's what you missed. The complainant who set the case in motion is now behind the bars. A key witness has retracted her statement. The court has tracked down on illegally defamatory online content, and the SIT is continuing its probe side by side under mounting pressure. This case is no longer just about hidden graves, and it's all about truth, trust, and who controls the whole story. Even though we have some points to watch next. The next major court hearing is to be held on September 27th, which could redefine how online platforms can handle Dharmasthala and Dharmasthala-related content. And the SIT's forensic reports, which will either validate the burial claims or dismiss them as fabrication. Let's see. And the third one is the possibility of charge sheets against activists who may have amplified false claims. Fingers crossed. This Dharmasthala case began as a story of mass graves and mystery. But as layers peel away, it is becoming equally a story of misinformation, legal battles, and reputational warfare. The coming weeks will decide, was this a dark crime buried in silence or a scandal manufactured in a plain sight? Let's watch and see. Always fingers crossed. Stay with us, the Unmasked Indian.